You're watching episode 31 of Beyond the Blast Doors. Thank you so much for joining us this week. David Amlotti, one of your hosts, joining with me, David Gilbert and Jesse Buck. We have a lot to go over in the last 24 hours. When we're recording this episode, we've had a new writer and producer of a TV series get announced. We have new Funko Pops. We got some news in the Star Wars comics world and a slew of other things, but a little promotion we need to get out of the way here at the top of our show. Make sure you're following us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We have just updated our motivations, our goals, our tiers on our Patreon account. If you go to patreon.com, type in Beyond the Blast Doors, you can find us there. Consider signing up for some more exclusive content with us here at Beyond the Blast Doors. And I want to give you and I some credit here, Jesse, because you and I do our jobs. We stay up to date on Star Wars Rebels. And in case you didn't know, you'd have to be living under a rock, but there was the Star Wars Rebels finale on Monday. You and I did about a 25-minute breakdown, talked about our favorite moments, talked about some things that we didn't like so much, but that complete recap video is online right now. You can find that at beyondtheblastdoors.com. Before we get underway with Real Talk this week, guys, I want you guys to do some of the talking now, so let's get at it. We need to congratulate Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, the Joker, so many more roles, but he now officially has his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Do you think that 20-year-old Mark Hamill was sitting there when he's reading the script for this space wizard movie that Lucas handed him? Do you think he's thinking I'm going to be on the Walk of Fame one day? Or do you think he's like, well, I guess this is work?
I think it was I've got a job, I really don't think any of those actors ever thought that they would achieve that kind of fame from these movies, and it's just kind of you never know what can happen for you.
You guys don't sound excited enough. I think I'm excited. I think he's excited. Think about this. He has even said that reading it, he thought it was all cool, but it was a little strange. We know Harrison didn't believe in it. We knew Carrie was rolling her eyes at it. And guess what? It made them millions and millions of dollars.
Yep.
Because of Star Wars, we got Indiana Jones. Because of Star Wars, we really did get Mark Hamill's Joker. There's no way Mark Hamill somehow gets the Joker role in the 90s with the animated series if he wasn't connected with the Luke Skywalker stuff beforehand. So I think it was awesome. Got to watch the live stream today. That was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I watched that too a little bit, actually.
It was really nice to see him with his wife. You heard Harrison Ford speak. You heard George Lucas speak. And just from all of us here at the show, it was just a real treat to watch that live, even though we're here in the Midwest.
We're just really excited for him. So We're pumped. We're stoked.
Yeah.
Do you think that sometimes... You think anybody would steal that? Somehow,
No, but you know what was really funny was the night before on Jimmy Kimmel, there was this little bit that Jimmy did where he pitched out to Mark Hamill outside, and he's there with a jackhammer, and he's just busting up the sidewalk, and they're like, well, what are you trying to do? He's like, oh, I'm just making away from my star, and they tilt down, and it's like a mock of Jimmy Kimmel's star on the Hollywood Walk, and it's really funny. If you haven't watched it, I definitely encourage you to watch our episode in its entirety, and then go out and find that video on YouTube. With that,
It'll bring a smile to your face.
Yeah. You know what else brings you a smile to your face? A new Star Wars TV series, and that's how we're going to start Real Talk this week. Real Talk is the segment where we talk about everything that is movie and TV related, and this is the big news. This is the news right now in the Star Wars world. Jon Favreau is now going to be the executive producer and write a live-action Star Wars series. The director of Iron Man and The Jungle Book will helm this series for Disney's new direct-to-consumer platform, which is a very fancy way of saying the streaming service that's going to drop in 2019. David, let's start with you. You're a fan of the MCU, of course.
I'm a big fan, and I've been rewatching it all.
And Iron Man is the movie that started it all. You also have to acknowledge Favreau's work with The Jungle Book. Does this excite you to hear that Jon Favreau now will be so heavily involved with this new TV series?
Oh, without a doubt. The thing that I love about Favreau's directing is that he brings the world to life. You look at superhero movies before him, and we have the Schumacher and Burton Batman movies, and they were very cartoony, very campy at times, cod pieces and rubber nipples and stuff, but when we got that first Iron Man, it was game-changing. It felt like a real-life world. It felt like something you might be watching on the news. And then that reveal at the end, when he says, I am Iron Man, that is not something that we'd ever seen before. So I'm looking to have a world of Favreau's creation where he brings it to life, where I can feel like I'm a part of that universe, and I'm excited.
I'm really excited. I love hearing your passion behind
This
this.
is like, I'm stoked.
And I think we're going to get this too with you, Jesse, because here's the thing. George Lucas would get trouble about how much he was trying to push technology with making the prequels, especially.
Yeah.
But think about Jon Favreau and the magic and that realistic looking world he created with Jungle Book. I mean, this is really an ideal continuation of what George was trying to do with Star Wars storytelling is look at the Jungle Book. There wasn't one live animal on that set, and they all look real. You have to be excited.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like if you can pull the same kind of magic with a nice balance of practical props, you're gonna be looking at something really phenomenal.
And what's so cool too, I think, about this story is the fact that there were some headlines out there when it first broke saying, Jon Favreau joins the Star Wars family. He's not joining. He's been really involved with Star Wars. Not only is he a fan, but he's been involved with 6 episodes of Star Wars The Clone Wars as Pre Vizsla, who's in charge of Death Watch. You might remember that Mandalorian arc. It's where we lose Duchess Satine. But it's really cool to see him in that acting role. We also know, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later in the show, he has a voice role in Solo: A Star Wars Story. So he's definitely ingrained with Star Wars storytelling, but now he's behind the camera, and now he's going to be writing what's going to be now he's going to be writing that story. I'm really excited. I guess my last question that I want to pose to you guys on this is, we know that he's executive producer and writer of a TV series, but right now there's not a director that's been tapped. Of course, we know that Benioff and Weiss a few weeks ago was mentioned as getting their series as well, and it's assumed for the streaming service as well. Seems like there may be 2 different projects. So I'm going to throw this out there. Dave Filoni directs Jon Favreau's directed... Oh, let me start that over. Dave Filoni will direct Jon Favreau's TV series for the streaming service. David, let's start with you.
I was thinking I read somewhere that it wasn't just going to be a one director kind of show, that it would be him being kind of like the showrunner with a group of other writers, and he'd be working with different directors throughout each of the episodes, which is not unusual for TV.
I like how you mentioned that because we actually have a quote from Kathleen Kennedy where, she talks about how she's really excited about this opportunity, but she says, "This series will allow Jon the chance to work with a diverse group of writers and directors and give Lucasfilm the opportunity to build a robust talent base." So as David mentioned, yes, there's going to be a variety of creative people, directors, writers involved with this. But I have to think that this might be the ideal situation, Jesse, to get Dave Filoni involved with that live action environment. We know he can do the animation episodic stuff, but getting him acclimated to live action, I feel like Jon Favreau is a really good person to kind of be a guiding force on that first experience.
It could be like a stepping stone kind of thing. Like, you can do it with the animation. Let's see if you can do it with live action. If you can do it with live action, we'll give you a huge, opportunity to make maybe another trilogy. So I don't know. I'm excited about it. Again, I love the idea of him working on this project.
Jesse is so excited. Jesse is so excited he's whispering about it. Come on, Jesse, give me the fervor. I am like, I think that it's great news, and of course I'm just wishful thinking here with Dave Filoni getting to direct some of those episodes, but we will see what happens.
I'm now just waiting for the direct TV service to kind of give me like a pre-purchase ability, like sign up now and I'll give them my money.
Sign up now.
Yes,
and
take it. Just take it.
An extra $10 off your subscription.
Well, I think the next story is really going to get everyone excited because we are talking about the deleted scenes of Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and the Star Wars show actually revealed this scene it's the alternate death, or their alternate death in quotations, right? Because we don't know if she's truly dead or not, of Captain Phasma, and it's that battle with her and Finn on the destroyer there. And I have to tell you, I think this is a better scene than the final cut has that we saw in theaters. David, you just watched it moments ago. What do you think?
I think this is mostly a better scene than what we got on screen. I love... Are we allowed to spoil it for this one? Can we put up the spoiler banner?
Yeah, we
keep it quiet?
we can do that.
Spoilers!
Okay,
yeah. What I loved about it is that it actually gave Phasma some depth to her character, where she and Finn are talking, and Finn's like, how would it be if it got out that when you had the gun to your head, you were the one who basically let Starkiller Base get destroyed? And then she pulls out her blaster, and she kills the 4 stormtroopers.
Great editing.
And see, that's the part that I didn't like. Like, you just see like the blaster turn 4 different directions for 4 shots. Maybe they couldn't figure out a better way to do that, which is why they cut it. Because that part to me was the cheesy part of it. But I love the fact that it's, listen, don't get all holy on me about being a rebel. You're the one who is a traitor to the ideologies that you believe in. And how would it, how would you fare if that got out? And then she did what she felt was necessary to keep her secret, which was killing 4 expendable stormtroopers. And then she still lost and died. I would love to have seen this in the movie, just maybe with some better editing with those 4 blaster shots.
Jesse, what do you think?
I think it was a nice tip of the hat to the Phasma book that we got, and we know that she basically covers up, I punched in the codes that took, take down the shields kind of thing. At the same time, though, I didn't really like the Phasma book, so even with this tie-in, that's what it's kind of referencing. I feel like she was being held. She was a captive, forced to do it. It wasn't like it was like she did it willingly. It was basically like, we're gonna kill you if you don't lower the shields. They still threw her down the garbage compactor, but
I think it's interesting that you had that thought, but at the same time, it's like she's supposed to be this great leader of the stormtroopers, and if she's that weak to crumble and not just take take death over that, I can see how the troopers can lose respect for her.
And that's one of the beauty parts of this deleted scene was Finn's talking and everything, and you can actually see like the cogwheels in the stormtroopers' helmets spinning up, they're not sure if hey, are we doing the right thing here? And that's when as David pointed out, we get kind of the cheesy quick draw with the blaster pistol.
They could have polished that off and still put that in there. That's just a little extra editing and VFX, and it'll look sharp.
Yeah, I was a real big fan of it, and I think it's interesting that you were empathizing with Phasma. I didn't see you doing that. I will tell you that when I watched this for the first time, I had an issue with seeing the stormtroopers kind of coming out of it and starting to question their leader, but at the same time, it makes sense because these aren't programmed clones. These are volunteers, and we've never really seen multiple stormtroopers.
I wouldn't say they're volunteers, though, because Finn was kind of
voluntoolds, or
they're kind of kidnapped and brainwashed at an early age. So.
Well, that's right. That's the first order method. Maybe not.
Yeah.
The Imperial method, they were a little bit more warm about.
Please volunteer. We'll kill your family.
Well, whatever works. Ask anybody in the Middle East. All right, so let's go ahead to the next topic of Real Talk. We're just cruising along here on Real Talk. Andy Serkis talks about the origins of Snoke with EW. And I thought this was a really interesting article, guys, because obviously he leads us with saying, I can't give you specifics, but he had conversations with J.J. Abrams, and then he would have conversations with Rian Johnson when working on The Last Jedi, and they discussed the origins of this character, discussing how he was older. I did like the insight about his approach to Snoke. He felt like he had scoliosis at the spine. He felt like it was a real labor for this character to walk and to function. Jesse, when you hear that there were developing talks between JJ and Rian Johnson, of course we talk about how there's a little inconsistency between the two movies from a storytelling perspective. What do you think about those conversations? Would you like to be a fly on the wall for those conversations with Andy Serkis and those directors, and maybe seeing how the vision of this character changed between the two directors?
Yeah, 100%, definitely. I definitely, I felt Snoke was very much intimidating in The Force Awakens, and while we see a lot of his Force abilities in The Last Jedi, him donning, the gold robes and everything, he kind of reminded me of Blofeld from James Bond, and it's just kind of I don't know, it's the path that they took with the character, just visually, I think kind of took away from the performance that Andy put on the table and everything. I think if they would have given him more of a Sith, appearance, the black robes and everything, I think that would have been visually more appealing for me. And then, those conversations, I don't know if I would have been able to just been a fly on the wall because I think I would have had to chimed in,
And that's why you had been asked to leave.
Yeah. That's not a fly, that's a tiny Mandalorian on the wall.
I think I love to hear what you say, and the thing I don't also want to make an assumption, because I did make an assumption that maybe the vision for Snoke changed between J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson, but I think a fan would be led to assume that based on the visuals, like you mentioned. We get this scary hologram guy, and then he ends up being in gold robes. David, let's flip this over to because you read this article about Andy Serkis's comments, and he talks about how there's definitely room to tell an origin story, and he would consider coming back and doing that. At this point, because he got knocked off in Last Jedi, is it too soon to learn about the origin of Snoke? Are we relying on the fact that we can always go back to flesh out a character? Do you think that kind of hurt The Last Jedi?
No, I don't think it's too soon to start looking at him. I think this could potentially be a good time to release a novel or some sort of a series of short clips for YouTube, which we've seen Star Wars do before. Maybe they're not going to release anything because he's Darth Plagueis and he can overcome death and he'll be back in the next movie.
I'm with you on that.
And
I'm
that's
really
what I'm hoping for.
still hoping for that because
it'd be great.
Yeah.
I think they're really... Okay, so this article from Entertainment Weekly has a lovely little video with it where it actually shows Andy Serkis...
doing the mocap?
Doing the mocap. He's hunched over. He's got the headgear on. And there are three things that run through my mind. The first is, would I look good in one of those motion capture suits?
Definitely.
Definitely. David, your thoughts?
I think you're beautiful on the inside and outside.
Thank you for that diplomatic response.
You have a great hairline.
A second thing that's going through my mind is nothing. There's no point number 2, but bullet point number 3 is I'm just picturing him there sitting like hunched over a little bit, and suddenly like he did in Black Panther, what is love, baby, don't hurt me. And I love Andy Serkis, and he makes me smile in everything he does, and I want more Andy Serkis. So
I think it's a shame that Andy Serkis doesn't have an Oscar yet for something. Because he has taken that version of acting, that mocap performing, and he has really made that a true art, and there's no one really better at it than him. So
everything from Smeagol to Caesar to Snoke.
I mean, my favorite moment with him would have been in the Hobbit, The Unexpected Journey, The Riddles in the Dark.
You mentioned Caesar. It still blows me away that the latest Apes movie didn't get visual effects at the Oscars.
Really?
I'm really surprised by that. Like Blade Runner won it, which was a visually good movie, but like how do you top Planet of the Apes?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. That's a different show.
A whole different conversation.
That's a different show.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're all a fan of Andy, and it sounds like we're all a fan of his work. I think it would be interesting to go and see that origin at some point, maybe more appealing in a novel form just because of how he was presented in The Last Jedi. My thing about Star Wars storytelling in general is the fact that it began in the middle. It began with 4, 5, and 6, and then you went back and learned the origin of Anakin Skywalker through 1, 2, and 3. So here you are in Last Jedi, and you have the death of Snoke. I guess in Star Wars storytelling, you can always go back and tell that movie, and maybe you make that movie, and then when you rewatch Last Jedi, maybe then it is this great final sonata for the character, but I don't want that to be something that the storytelling group is relying upon. That's just my thought. Let's go ahead to the next topic here in Real Talk. We're moving right along here, and some news that it's not surprising, but it was really a matter of time to hear this news. John Williams does confirm that Star Wars Episode 9 will be his final Star Wars score. He will be donating his complete library of concert music, film scores, and sketchbooks back to his alma mater, the Juilliard School. And I believe we got this story from StarWarsNewsNet.com. I meant to write a note here, but I want to make sure I give them credit because they really are the best aggregator of Star Wars news on the internet, and always appreciate their help with making our show possible. Guys, I guess so many of the great moments of the Star Wars trilogy, the Star Wars saga, is because of the score underneath, and it's really character of its own in the storytelling. Jesse, you hear that he has decided that Episode 9 will be his last score to compose. It's a little bittersweet.
Yeah, he rescued the original, trilogy. I mean, like without his music and the editing work, we wouldn't have these movies today. If you really think about it, like he set the pace, he set the tone. Those precious moments that we all love throughout the original trilogy, the carbon freezing chamber, Luke and Leia on the Ewok bridge, in the village and everything. So it's kind of sad because it's like, please don't go, but I do feel like there are some capable directors and musicians.
We talk about Kiner, who does the Star Wars Rebels and Clone Wars. He would be perfect to fill in.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of passing of the torch kind of thing. So I mean, definitely expected, but I definitely appreciate all the work Williams has done. I enjoy his music very much.
You know, you think about Duel of the Fates, you think of the great battle scene there in Revenge of the Sith between Obi-Wan and Anakin, the Force theme in original trilogy. It's just the original, when you hear those drums in the beginning of A New Hope when the Destroyer is coming across the top of the screen, they're iconic moments, David, and they're also soundtracks that you can just enjoy listening to. You don't necessarily have to be watching the film. Do you have a favorite moment with the music?
Do you ever see the YouTube video? Somebody takes like Duel of the Fates and turns it into Corn on the Cob.
What? No. What is
we'll
that?
have to watch. They like, I don't know that you. So you know they've got like the choral singing in the background, like da 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 da. You know, doing that. If you like put subtitles on it, it sounds like they're saying "corn on the cob" when they're singing. We'll watch it after the.
Okay, we'll do it. We don't need it. We don't need a reenactment.
I sound like a walrus giving birth to farm equipment, so I'm not going to sing it. But it is a terrible way to ruin that piece of music for you.
At least he's humble. That's going to do it for Real Talk here on Beyond the Blast Doors.
Wait a second. Can we bring up one more thing?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Because we haven't touched on this hardly at all. He's taking, he's leaving in his estate all of his compositions and the royalties from them to Juilliard School.
Right, yeah.
And that, to me, that's just phenomenal to me. I mean, like, anybody who's anybody has gone through Juilliard at some point, either as a faculty member or a musician, and not just through music, but with dancing or playwriting. And so the fact that think about how much money he makes
all
off
the royalties, yeah.
That's going to set up that school for life. He is leaving one heck of a great legacy by providing kids the opportunity to learn from the best of the best, and now they'll be able to do that without having to worry about their finances.
I think it's great, and the thing about it is, again, here's just one more element of the original Star Wars era kind of coming to a close. You know, you lose George after the Disney acquisition, and then, you know, you're seeing the main characters leaving the movie screen, and now Jon, who is just as vital. I mean, you go back and watch some of the documentaries about the first Star Wars movie. You know, George was very open about the fact that he did not want traditional science fiction music. He wanted classical orchestra music, and it really does make this movie transcend time. Star Wars will always fit no matter what generation is viewing, and a lot of that is due to John Williams. I would really hope that John and George would meet up at some point and just slam a drink back, just to celebrate their successes together, you know? So, so that's going to do it for the last segment there, the last topic of Real Talk here, and I just want to remind you that we do have a video right now on our YouTube channel, Beyond the Blast Doors. On YouTube, we have a video talking about the details surrounding Solo, a Star Wars movie, and John Williams' involvement with the score, particularly just the Solo theme. So if you are a fan of John Williams and you weren't aware that he was involved with the Solo movie, go ahead and check that out. Pages, Pixels, Pieces is the next segment of our show, and we get right into it with comic book talk. We're talking about Star Wars number 44. This is a new arc that is beginning called Mutiny on Mon Cala, so we're dealing with the Mon Calamari. And in case you're not aware, Kieran Gillen is the guy in charge. He's writing this series now. He took over. And you still have, Salvador Larroca is doing the art for this comic series. The cover artist, though, was David Marquez. And what I love about this issue, Jesse and David, is the fact that the cover looks like rebellion propaganda. It's Leia very prominently front and center, and I would assume Rebels behind her, but a really cool piece of art there. I think what's interesting about this comic, and I don't want to give a whole lot away on the episode because I want people to read this because I definitely think it's worth you doing it. If you're really into like the lore of Star Wars, if you're really into the richness of Leia as a character, this is a comic for you because she's really posed with this question that she can't really answer. And to give you a little background in case you haven't picked it up yet, keeping it broad, they're trying to get this general on Mon Cala to agree to give his fleet over to the rebellion and to help them in their cause. And he is very resistant. The general's name is General Yortia, I believe is how you say it, or Yortia. And he's very resistant about this. And he poses a question to Leia. He goes, if you would have known the Empire would have destroyed Alderaan, would you have rebelled? And she's kind of speechless. And that's what I want to talk about now is Leia is known as a character that is so outspoken, and she is so articulate in her thought, and she is able to negotiate. I mean, she holds her own against Tarkin on the bridge there of the Death Star on A New Hope. Jesse, you hear that, she's posed that question, and she's lost for words. Does that alter your viewpoint of Leia Organa at all?
No, not at all. I mean, think of it this way. I mean, how was anybody supposed to know that the Empire built this super battle station with that capability? Mm-hmm. When the rebellion started, you're just dealing with superior numbers and superior technology, but it was still, I guess you could say, in Star Wars terms, practical. Mm-hmm. Starships, large freighter ships and everything. So a planet destroyer is kind of unheard of. In many ways, it's just, I mean, Tarkin was kind of a jerk. I mean, he was like, give me the location. She gives him a false place, and he still blows it up. There's no way of knowing.
Yeah, maybe I am overreacting a little bit, because you think about it, Leia is a teenager. I mean, realistically, she is a teenage leader, 19. Mm-hmm. But David, am I overreacting to this? How do you perceive this conversation when she's asked if she would have rebelled had she known, and she's kind of at a loss for words?
I think I'd be at a loss for words too, even at the age of 19. I mean, part of me would have been like, well, yeah, because we're fighting for the rights of all people, not just my own people, but at the same time, there's the home I grew up with and my friends and my family and the people that were near and dear to me. So I can't blame her for being speechless. I mean, I think she probably benefited, and why she felt so strongly about the rebellion was that she had been off her planet to see the people who were oppressed. I think it would have been a no-brainer to her if she hadn't had those experiences that, well, screw it, I'm looking out for me and my own. Those are just my thoughts.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, had she not cared about the rest of the galaxy, mm-hmm. she could have been just sipping tea in the fancy palace there, and maybe they still would have blown up the planet. Maybe her father would have been, switch places, with her. So that's the thing is, like, it's an impossible question to answer. It's a tough question, no doubt, but I'm not sure how anybody would, be able to answer that.
I want to make sure that you go out and pick up this book if you haven't already. I know sometimes David and I are really harsh on Salvador Larroca's art because it's super hyper realistic.
The art I liked in this one.
Yeah, it's toned down.
The faces I still don't like.
All right.
For the main cast, the Mon Calamaris were great, but I love the vibrant shades of blues that he uses throughout it, mm-hmm. and the rest of the art to me is just, it's top notch. The faces still suck.
It was a really solid issue. And you know what? Maybe it's a sign of this new crew getting comfortable because, again, they were working together for the first time on this line with the Ashes of Jeddah 6-part mm-hmm. arc that we had just wrapped up. So maybe this is a sign of really good things to come. I've mentioned it before. I hit or miss with this main Star Wars line, but here's hoping. And as I swap my notes away, I'm going to bring those back over because I want to make sure that you're aware. Coming up next week, we have Darth Vader 13 hitting the bookshelves, which is really exciting. Yep, Darth Vader 13.
They're pumping those out pretty quick.
It's kind of crazy. This past month, we've gotten 2 within a span of 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really nice. They're really cranking out those issues. So, Darth Vader number 13, Thrawn Part 2 will be out next week. And we'll also get Star Wars 45, Poe Dameron number 25 on March 21st, and then Dr. Aphra number 18 will close out the month of March, comes out on the 28th. So there's a full look at Star Wars comics coming your way up until the end of March, and of course, I believe there's also a Star Wars Adventures slated somewhere in there as well, so be on the lookout for that. Let's go ahead and start talking about The Last Jedi novelization, because that recently dropped. And there's a lot of buzz right now about the opening prologue of this novelization because it begins with a Luke Skywalker imagining himself not as a Jedi, but standing in the sands of Tatooine with his wife, looking out at the twin suns. And I'm not going to give a whole lot away because I think if you're going to take the time to read the novel, go ahead and read the novel and enjoy it. But it's such a peculiar start to this novel, but it's also very consistent about this Luke that is so disenfranchised with the whole Jedi thing, and he's kind of regretting it all in this moment. I think it's interesting because, Jesse, it includes that he has a wife in this vision. He's seeing himself with a wife.
Or it's just more wood on the fire saying that the last movie we saw was, in fact, completely a dream.
Great, we're gonna Super Mario Brothers 2 this out of existence.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, on a serious note, I mean, Luke was he was raised just as a normal,
farm boy.
Farm boy. I mean, he wanted to go to the Tashi station, pick up some power converters.
But he always had that. But he always had that desire for something more.
Yeah, and even Yoda kind of called him out for on that, and it's just one of those things. I think maybe there is some bitterness that he's missing the piece. Of being that farm boy, being a hero of the rebellion, being a Jedi. I mean, there's a lot of pressure.
There is
a lot of mental strain there.
But I do like the throwback to the original trilogy, David, that this scene depicts. Yeah, because this harkens back to a deleted scene from A New Hope. Because the name, I want to say it's Cambia, but I think that's wrong. What is the name of his wife?
Just Cammy. C-A-M-I-E.
It's Cammy. Yes.
Yeah.
So that was a friend of Luke's in that deleted scene. So I like how that connects. I think that's really cool because I think the easy thing to do for some fans, because I think some fans, sometimes I get hypersensitive, be like, wow, they're really just trying to troll Mara Jade, and that's not fair. One, this is a dream sequence, so this isn't officially reality. But two, Cammy was harkens back to that deleted scene with A New Hope, so I think that was pretty cool. What are your thoughts on this, David?
I don't like it because I shouldn't have to read the book to get more of the story than I did in the movie.
Yeah.
This is a movie franchise. That's how it started. That's where they make the big dollars. So if they're giving me stuff in this book that's not in the movie, then it needs to be a deleted scene that I can watch, because if not, I don't like it. Now, extra books like Thrawn, Ahsoka, some of the ones you have behind you, the Aftermath books, that I'm okay with because they're not a novelization of the movie. These are supposed to be novelizations of the movie.
Well, you're talking in the sense, I mean, like, relating to the Skywalker story, you'd rather see everything that they put in the book on the screen.
Well, I would say the same thing for Rogue One. I mean, it was kind of a bummer. Not a bummer. It was a cool reveal in the Rogue One novel to learn that there was some separatist ties to one of our heroes, but you wouldn't know that by watching Rogue One. So I think that's a really interesting standpoint.
What I want to get out of the novelization of a movie is the justification of why Tarkin feels like he's doing the right thing. How he has that inner monologue as he's walking towards the bridge to meet Princess Leia. Should I really blow up this planet of a couple billion people? In having that inner struggle before he finally opens his mouth and says, "Yes, we're going to blow up the planet now." That's what I want, is how these people justify to themselves that they're making the right decision, not something that's new or different from what we get on screen.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what Jason Fry gives us in the entire novelization. Haven't started reading it yet. We'll do that very soon. But if you haven't noticed this, I will tell you that Star Wars Show also did put out, I think it was a couple weeks ago, had like a behind-the-scenes video with Jason Fry, and there were some images of him having a meeting with Rian Johnson. So really interesting to see what this novel does reveal, because unlike what David would prefer, this novel is going to show you a few scenes that we did not see in the movie, and it'll be interesting to uncover what those scenes do include. Let's jump to the next topic right now in Pages, Pixels, Pieces, and we're talking about Rio Durant, this character now on your screen. If you're watching the show, of course, maybe you're listening on our Patreon account. We appreciate you for supporting us there. But Rio Durant is this new alien creature that Jon Favreau is voicing. We mentioned this towards the beginning of the show. Jon Favreau is voicing this character, and it's the character in the gunner position, we're assuming, of the Millennium Falcon, that a lot of people confused or thought was Maz Kanata in that first the teaser trailer that was dropped. At a quick glance, you thought that was Maz Kanata, but it is not. It is Rio Durant. And in the story that we got from StarWarsNewsNet.com, we also get some images of 11 new Funko Pop toys.
Who cares?
So what's your gripe here with, because I collect the Black Series figures, I collect the Legos. Why don't you like the Pops?
What's your fascination with them?
Why
are they worth my time?
Well, with the Legos or with the Pops?
With the Pops. Okay, Legos you get to build.
Yes.
You get to construct something to put together. That I don't get.
Is this where he ties in Krennic's shuttle?
No, I'm not going to. You guys made fun of me earlier for talking about Krennic's shuttle and the staying on target the last couple weeks.
He's had this Lego set for like 3 months, and he's been waiting for us to buy sets to build
I'm just going to build it without you now. But back to Funko Pops. I don't understand why these things are so popular. they befuddle me.
I've been told it's a cute factor. I think it's a lower costing collectible. Most of these pops run $10. The exclusives are $15, $20, $25. I mean, but you go online right now, you can find pop figures going for $30, $40, $50.
I just opened up Google and I typed in "why are Funko Pops" with the hope of typing in "so popular," and the first two things are "why are Funko Pops so popular" on the dropdown and "why are Funko Pops so expensive." There's an entire subreddit, or not subreddit, a Reddit thread on what's the deal with Funko Pops, and nobody has a good answer. And here's I'm scrolling down the page.
I think it's maybe this is assumption, so don't crucify me for this. But is it a generational thing? Because we grew up with the action figures. I continue that hobby with the Black Series figures. I love the detail in them. But the pop figure, they're kind of basic to me, and I think they're just a younger generation fad. What do you think, Jesse?
I think it's a younger generation thing. I think at the same time, there's a popularity in the a cartoony aspect about things, and that's what these kind of bring to the table is a cartoony version of your favorite character. I think some of them, I don't know about some of the characters, I've seen they've got a Boba Fett one, of course.
Of course, you saw that one.
Yeah, or
Heaven forbid you not see that one.
Captain Phasma or Stormtrooper, or I think there's a Kylo Ren one. I kind of thought those were kind of cool. They kind of reminded me in some ways of Calvin and Hobbes for some reason.
I don't see it, but I think that's really cool that's the connection that you made.
Just something about the way to me I can see where there would be an appeal. I don't own any of these personally, but I'd say it's along the same lines that you have with the Black Series figures. And
I'm not judging anybody. I don't think we're judging anybody for liking them, but we have a hard time getting into them.
Don't get me wrong. I have my own collection. I'm of that age where I collected Beanie Babies. I was that age. I'm couple years old.
They're going to be worth millions one day.
Right, but that was the catch. They were going to be worth money.
And now they're not.
You don't hear, well, yeah, but, they were also going to shut down the TY factory after 2000, rolled over. They didn't do that, money, money, money. But there was that draw that these are rare and worth something. There's not that draw. I don't see that draw for Funko Pops. And then we get, weird ones, okay, I'm going to start bashing on some of these. Is that okay? Rio Durant. Jon Favreau's character.
Yep.
Rio Durant. What in the heck is a Rio Durant? It sounds like something I should be doing or drinking while listening to a Duran Duran song. Hey, pour the pitcher of Durant this way. I just...
Isn't Rio Spanish for river?
Maybe. I took
that's
Latin.
His real name is River.
I took Latin in high school, so I
River
don't
Durant.
have anything for you there.
I'm sorry, John.
We beat up on the Funkos a lot, but I will tell you, it is kind of nice to know the character name of that character that we saw in the teaser trailer. Yeah. Cool to know that Jon Favreau is connected to that character, voicing that character. I'll be curious to know, what does that creature sound like? Is it sounding like Jon Favreau? Is it going to be modified to sound more alien-like? If it is not in English sounding, if it doesn't speak basic, will we get subtitles with that creature? We saw that in Force Awakens. We saw that in Force Awakens, so that would be interesting to me. So I have all these questions in my mind. I'd like to know what you think about Rio Durant or any of these Funko Pops that we talked about. We didn't really identify any of them. We showed them on the screen. That was good enough. Let us know down in the comments below.
Can I just say that it's been kind of refreshing getting this far down in the show before we start talking about solo characters?
I mean, maybe. I would like to talk about the new trailer, but we don't have a new trailer yet. I'm still waiting on the actual trailer. We have a teaser trailer, but where's the actual trailer?
Well, we're not going to get it at this point. We're a month and a half away from the movie?
I say we convince Lucasfilm to take the rest of their marketing budget for Solo, invest it in Beyond the Blast Doors. I think that would be an awesome move.
We'll take you to Taco Bell and discuss it.
We'll wine and dine at Taco Bell. They sell Corona now, folks. Let's go on to Stash It or Blast It. We're going to kind of keep this book theme going into this last segment because we've just now learned that Princess Leia will officially be getting her own manga series. There were rumors about this a long time ago. We mentioned this, I think, on episode 11. Could be wrong. It might be 12, but it's 11 or 12. And this is via Newsarama. Haruchi is adapting Claudia Gray's young adult novel, Leia, Princess of Alderaan. It's on the front of our set. And this is going to drop on May 4th, so this year on Star Wars Day. The print edition is going to be debuting later in the year after the final installment of the serial is released online. So first it will be a digital release, and then we'll get it in print, in a bound book in some form.
That's kind of interesting to me that they're releasing it that way, not the print copy first to try to make the dollars off the physical thing.
Well,
maybe test the waters, I guess.
Well, what do you
I don't
think
know.
about this? Because, we see this with Thrawn recently, where Thrawn comes out in a novelization, and then they adapt it to the comics. We talked about it last week, how we love number one so much. So here's a young adult novel, Princess Leia, Princess of Alderaan. Now they're going different art form, because I would say manga is not necessarily a comic book.
It's different.
It's different for sure.
Yeah.
Little bald. Bold is the word. Do you like the move? Do you like this? Would you pick up the manga Princess Leia?
I probably wouldn't, because this isn't a topic that's overly exciting to me, and to be quite honest, I'm not done with from a certain point of view yet. But I mean, if they're looking for diversity, I think this is a good move for them and what they're releasing in their markets. I kind of wish they would be putting out something new as opposed to something they've already released. But
because this kind of goes in the same issue, it's a concern we had about Thrawn going into the comic was, Jesse, we've read the novel, we know what happens. Why am I picking up the manga version of this? But the Thrawn comic makes it worth you buying that comic, even though you've read the novelization.
I guess to me it's a little baffling because I'm an avid book reader. I don't have an issue when I'm reading a book of actually visualizing the scenes and the characters in my mind's eye. I guess if you do, that's where I guess a comic book can come in handy, because somebody's basically doing the work for you in that regard. Or maybe you don't want to sit down and read an actual book, where I feel like a comic book is a little bit a quicker read to get the story. So there's pros and cons to it. I don't know if I'll check it out. I mean, basically you two are like the comic book and guys on this show. So I mean, if you tell me, hey, check this out, kind of like what you did with Darth Vader.
Oh, we got you on there.
Then
We got you real deep into Vader.
No, I'm just not completely sold on this.
Okay, no worries. You don't have to like it.
So-
You can like it. You don't have to like it.
I was
though.
curious, so I just Googled it, and it looks like in 2009's the most recent number I can find, the U.S. manga market was $2.7 billion domestically.
Wow.
And we're not even their target market. I mean, that's mostly like an Asian art form. So maybe they're going for more money because there's a lot more out there that they're not grabbing.
I mean, I can remember like in high school, though, watching like One Piece with my friends. They download some episodes off that website. We'd go and watch like a season. You didn't do that?
No, we watched Adult Swim a lot.
Adult Swim.
Adult
Yeah,
Swim.
Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Toonami.
Showing our age.
Toonami.
Man, remember like Samurai Jack?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it was
back
it was
now.
Gundam Wing and Cowboy Bebop for me. So
Just a little bit of a nostalgia right now
Yeah.
here on Beyond the Blast Doors. You know what? Let's keep that theme going, because our last topic for Stash It or Blasted, Star Wars Rebels Season 4 finale aired on Monday, and Jesse and I actually did a really in-depth, about 30-minute breakdown about this series finale and also the episode before. You can find that right now on our YouTube channel. You can also find a direct link right now at beyondtheblastdoors.com. So I don't want to go really into the plot details of it so much, but everyone is talking about the epilogue, those final 2.5 minutes
Yeah.
where we jump way into the future. And David's going to have to cover his ears on this, because he's literally a year and a half behind still on the series. You could binge watch the show and be done in 2.5 days. 20-minute episodes, man.
I think you should call in sick tomorrow. Get yourself a nice pizza, maybe some hot wings, and binge watch everything.
Is he talking to me?
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't think you can tell him to do that, though, because his boss watches our show, I'm pretty sure.
Does he? I
Yeah.
wonder if he subscribes.
I'm pretty sure that Todd does. Anyways, hey, Todd, you got yourself a shout-out. So I guess what I want to talk about right now is just, we get that epilogue, and we know that certain characters are alive. My question to you, Jesse, is do we think that Star Wars Rebels, this epilogue, has it hinted at the next animated series that we are going to get, because you have Ahsoka return and Sabine join her, and they're going to start their search for Ezra?
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll play a part for sure. somewhere in there it will be tied in.
I think, and we mentioned this in our full review, we talk about how there might be that next animated series that is post Return of the Jedi, and it's Luke building the Jedi Order, and somehow Ahsoka and Sabine weave their story in there, and Ezra might come into play there. That would be really cool. I think if that were to be done, I still have concerns about whether or not a Sabine Ahsoka series is just too niche to attract a large enough audience for it to be really successful. But I think when you hear news about Jon Favreau having a live-action series that he is writing, when you think about Benioff and Weiss still having a series of movies, we're just not sure what those movies will be. Man, there seems like a lot of potential where you could throw one or both of these characters into the mix and tell that story of their adventures. But, somehow, somewhere, Ezra is alive with Thrawn because apparently you can survive, the vacuum of space. I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and say it. If you've watched the series, you know that the end of the end is Thrawn and Ezra going into hyperspace, and the damn space wells have destroyed all of these windows of the bridge, and they go out to light speed, and you'd have to think they're like dead. But Dave Filoni says they're both alive. And so the way this all wraps up, you really think you're going to get that series where it's Sabine and Ahsoka, because there's no way we're going to have, we're not going to follow Jason, Syndulla, and Hera on their crazy, wacky adventures, the mom and son duo. Would you watch that? Please don't tell me you'd watch that.
I feel like they're going to toss that to, Forces of Destiny.
We almost got through an episode without referring to Forces of Destiny.
I'm sorry. I know you're doubting that, but I'm just remember what I told you. Filoni hasn't led us astray, so you need to trust the man, on this. So
I seem to recall an episode of the Clone Wars with a little tiny general and a whole bunch of robots going through a desert.
Hey, you know what? We got Gregor out of that.
Here's my question, and I want to pose this to David because he hasn't. I mean, he has no idea what's going on in the series anymore. So hear me out, okay? Hear me out. Ahsoka Tano. What do you think of the idea that Ahsoka Tano could interact with Luke Skywalker?
So do you want my opinion based upon how my opinion has changed since we started this podcast, or do you want my opinion that I'm still holding firm to that she should not be alive?
I think both, but do it in a way where you're not using any profanity. Thank you.
So I am still of the mindset that I had when I was a kid, that when Anakin brought balance to the Force, it was 2 Sith, him and Palpatine, and 2 Jedi. Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi. 2 and 2. To me, that's balanced. So from that perspective, I'd say, no, it's terrible. She should not be around to do so. On the flip side, I'd say now that I'm getting into the deeper realm of the Star Wars lore, that'd be kind of bad bottom. I was going to say badass, but you'd probably get upset with me about that.
Well, you still said it.
We're okay with that. That's about as we do.
I think that'd be pretty cool if they did it. I would watch it. I would enjoy it. But there's still that part of me that says that's not a balanced Force.
I've always been intrigued by your perception of what the balance of the Force is, because I don't think it comes down to the bodies, light and dark side users. But what is kind of interesting to me is I always thought it'd be cool if Luke on his training to become a Jedi would find a holocron or some training module that Anakin had made. We've seen that.
Oh, now that would be cool.
We've seen that in Rebels. Ezra studying an Anakin Skywalker training module. I also think it'd be interesting now that we see this. It would be kind of cool to see Ahsoka somehow influence Luke somehow, some method. Maybe it's approach to saber battle. Ahsoka teaches some wisdom. It'd be interesting.
Maybe this is a stretch, but Ahsoka doesn't really consider herself a Jedi anymore. So she's in her own way disenfranchised.
But she's still a Force user. She still uses lightsabers. She
so,
still has knowledge to bestow.
So maybe she really didn't want a part of that. Maybe it'd be an interesting conversation between the two characters. But maybe she was like, "No, I've seen what the Jedi order was kind of like.
You kind of have a point because Dave Filoni was recently quoted saying that she laid low after she was saved by Ezra. And I believe he goes as far as saying she's really not a factor during the OT, but she comes back after the Battle of Endor because she was aware that she would disrupt the timeline if she were to enter the rebellion, be involved too early on. So, we see her return in Rebels to pick up Sabine and head on out to try and find Ezra. A lot of really cool possibilities, a lot of questions you can ask.
Trust Filoni. I think we'll be fine.
Staying on target. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to stay on target. We're trying to stay on target with Dave Filoni. Trust in Dave. We should make a sticker of that. But staying on target is the last segment of our show. No fan commenting this week. Just know that you can always send us your Star Wars questions, or if there's a topic that you want to hear us discuss on the show, all you have to do is tweet at us. Our Twitter handle is at @BTBD_podcast. Also, you can just use the hashtag Beyond the Blast Doors. So, staying in target right now. Wow. I feel like I have to kind of decompress in a sense because there was just so much news, so much happening in the last week here with Star Wars between Rebels and with the announcement of Jon Favreau. David, what do you have your targeting system on while I recuperate?
I guess I want to finally catch up on Rebels now that it's over.
Yay!
Can we just do a day where we can literally probably catch you up in a day?
What are you doing this weekend? You're not in town.
I'm in Kansas City.
Maybe I'll do it this weekend without you, and you can feel bad about not being there with me.
Yeah.
Fine. If it gets you caught up, it gets you caught up. I'm not going to argue with that.
Jesse, you want to come over and watch Rebels with me?
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's
There's
cute.
a Nickelodeon show called Figure It Out. Do you remember that?
No, I remember Are You Afraid of the Dark, though?
That one scared me.
All Real Monsters was good too. What do you have your targeting systems on, Jesse?
For me, just obviously planning cosplay stuff.
You know what?
I know
Every
it's on
week.
everything.
I'm
but it
making a
really-
requirement next week. These two schmucks cannot use either cosplay or a lightsaber hilt
Listen,
or
I
Rebels.
didn't say lightsaber hilt. I didn't say my Lego set that I'm still waiting to build.
Here's the thing: you got to
Darth
understand
Vader.
is that cosplay takes a lot of planning. So when
No,
you
I
want
know.
to get it done, you have to sit down and look at stuff. It is, it takes a lot of time just to plan things out. With that being said, there's a number of books that I'm wanting to catch up on.
Ooh.
I still haven't finished from a certain point of view.
Okay.
How far are you into it? Because
I'm
there's
a little over halfway, I
See,
think.
we skipped the first half because
Are
there's
you
all that
out of-
crap on Tatooine.
Are you out of Tatooine yet? Because it is bad. It is not enjoyable.
No,
It's rough and it's coarse and it's everywhere.
I want to because I want to get that done, and then I want to tackle the Thrawn novel. So that's kind of
it is right there.
that's on my targeting system. So
Okay. No, that's solid. The Star Wars novels are just really fantastic. I recommend anyone to try them. And I only going on about this because I saw someone complaining about. There's a Facebook group that I'm part of. They were complaining about the writing quality in the new canon books, and I just disagree. This person was saying that the new writing is atrocious and that the EU is better. Listen, the EU has a lot of flaws, and Disney's a business. They wanted to sell Star Wars stories. They retconned it. Move on. The thing about it is you have guys like Chuck Wendig. You have incredible writers like Claudia Gray, who has such a mastery of Star Wars storytelling. I would say that if you could get Dave Filoni and Claudia Gray in charge of all the Star Wars storytelling, oh my gosh, you couldn't even, I don't even think I can comprehend right now how incredible some of those stories really could be. Mm-hmm. So, I want you to get on the throne. I think you'll really enjoy it.
what I have to say to those naysayers about these new books?
Yes.
Is there were some great characters, a few great novels in the old EU, but you know what? Somebody thought it was a great idea to drop a planet on Chewbacca.
A moon.
The worst story arc ever written. So get over it. Okay.
It's a little tough love. See, I love when Jesse gets really intense because he's he does that character from South Park. It's like, get over it, okay? Like, it's like the same thing. It's the same thing.
I just
Moons
really
are
just
bad,
get
okay?
over it,
Don't get crushed.
because it's very frustrating. You can love the certain aspects of it, but if you are so close-minded that you can't look past the original trilogy or those old books, you are missing out on some phenomenal stories and phenomenal new characters.
You work with a guy that's kind of like that, don't you? We
Well,
won't say his name.
names. I'm working on that one, and I feel like as soon as I crack that nut, he's going to go completely. He's going to fly through the Clone Wars cartoon at the very least.
I'm just so thankful we're talking about Star Wars books after you talk about cracking a nut. All right, so that's going to do it for episode 31 here of Beyond the Blast Doors. I had an absolute blast. We got it in under an hour. There's your second fun pun of the episode. I do want to remind you that Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, we are running weekly polls. We want you to participate. We are about to release 2 new shirts and our first Beyond the Blast Doors pin. Details are incoming, but you'll want to make sure that you're following us on social media so you're the first to know when those items drop. We're really excited about it. And if we're able to sell these pins, we're going to order 100 pins. We sell these pins. One, it's going to unlock a next wave of pins, collector pins, but also it's going to allow us to do some really cool things with our setup, upgrading equipment. Maybe it's the quality of
we could get the hyperdrive fixed.
We could get the hyperdrive fixed. Right now, we're the Falcon in Empire Strikes Back, and we need a crater to dock in. We're having a great time, though, and we're so glad you could join us. And to all those watching, if you're watching here on YouTube, if you're watching on the Patreon, thank you so much for being a part of the Star Wars conversation. We'll see you soon. If you haven't already, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. You can watch other videos just like this one right now by checking out these videos on your screen. And by the way, thanks for checking out Beyond the Blast Doors.